Hi, I'm Bree. I'm one of your discussion leaders for this week. I'm going to go through each article individually with my reflections of them and then go into an overall connection. So for the Mitchell article, there is an importance in the use of visual data produced by children, specifically young girls. Their data conveys what is important in their lives and the issues they face, specifically in reference to sexual violence. I think the visual media created by women and young girls serves as a primary source of advocacy for their rights and protections of their group. There should be no question as to who should have access to the digital media and what for. They are tools for not only advocacy, but also serve as proponents for social change. And social change is going to be kind of a common theme we see through these articles that we're trying to enact by doing this social research and using the participants that we do and how we use them for the research. Moving on to the Likes and Sheep article. Photo voice, when situated in a feminist, anti-racist PAR, and is emphasized by creative and culturally relative techniques, is significant for individual and collective empowerment that can be wielded to incite social change. So we see the social change again. So the researchers here argue that their photo PAR, and PAR, PAR, is the participatory action research. And basically the photo PAR serves as a means of engaging individual women with activism to document their experiences. I do think that's really, really important, again, because that is how we enact social change, is we use our experiences, we document them, we march or protest in order to find our voice and then use it. So moving on to the Olson article, there has been immense growth in feminist qualitative research from the beginning of the 21st century. Despite constant pushback from the traditional institutions of society and academia, there has been an expansion of feminist methodologies stemming from social, political, and epistemological change. This is reflective of the feminist movements that required a lot of time and activism to eventually result in social and legal rights for women. It was never a quick process. It took a lot of women before us trying to find a voice so that our generation may be heard. I know it doesn't really look like that right now in America, but there was progress. There's just a lot more for us to make, and we do have some ground to make up on. Much like in biological research, where female bodies were not at the forefront of scientific exploration, women were not the primary topic of social research either, leaving plenty of room for development in the early 21st century. Moving on to the Leon Quijano article, the construction and enforcement of gender is not location-specific. It is apparent on a global scale. How gender is conceived and experienced in urban settings is the focus of this article. Through the application of visual participatory methods, we're able to see how gender is policed through social interactions ranging from passive to very aggressive and violent. It's important that the participants play an active role in these studies and for all studies on gender, because no one can explain someone's experience better than the one who is experiencing it. There's a level of responsibility placed on the researcher at this point where a collective voice is employed with respect and accuracy, while also not generalizing the consensus. In the article, we see photos of the Sarcellus women during their basic photography training, learning how to capture their experience the best way. This is inclusive for the community, and it establishes a great connection between the researcher and the participants, and it allows for the truth to be uncovered in the research. So the readings all provide a look at the methods employed by researchers to gather ethnographic data on the lives from young girls to grown women. We see studies conducted in multiple regions of the world gathering common themes of violence, gender policing, and the negligence of women and girls. It's not surprising that the social research had a late start in developing proper feminist-style methodologies to conduct research on women and girls. There has never been a primary focus on women and girls in anything. So, again, we see this in biological studies of the female body. We've seen this in the achievement of legal rights, societal treatment, and even social research. But as the saying goes, it's better late than never. The early 21st century produced an expansion of feminist methodologies that serve to capture the experience of women and girls in their everyday lives, including the violence and oppression they face. Rape and sexual torture serve as social control tactics to keep women and girls in their societally determined places, maintaining the oppression. Both articles by Mitchell and Leon Quijano explore the everyday threat and experience of sexual violence inflicted on women and girls, where there is little to no escape from the reality of it. Mitchell, who discussed a little girl who was sexually abused by her own father and then relied on the trusted adult women in her life to protect her, all of whom failed to, at least for a little period of time, they did fail to protect her before she got justice. There's an ongoing fear of speaking out against men that keeps women silent about abuse, even women who are supposed to protect these little girls due to fear of retaliation and becoming victims of the violence themselves. This leaves little choice but to remain in denial and victim blame rather than enforcing accountability. This in turn leads to negligence of the victim and a special flavor of internalized misogyny that conveys the message that women and girls are responsible for their own victimization of sexual violence. That's why there are more girls being told to dress modestly and carry weapons to protect themselves from becoming victimized, rather than teaching the boys and men not to victimize girls and women. Allowing for these women and girls to become co-researchers and capture their experience gives them a space to not only control their own narratives, but to document their lives as they experience them, which is something that cannot be outdone by somebody else. The Leeks and Sheeb article, along with the Olson article, are focused on decentralizing the collective narrative of women's oppression and instead are employing methods influenced by intersectionality. We understand that the identity matrix, or multiple identities that are subject to oppression, layer the experience of one's oppression. While women are heavily oppressed by patriarchal institutions and traditions, women of color face those oppressions and the oppressions that come with racism and white supremacy-based institutions and traditions. There are so many identities that contribute to marginalization, including gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic class, race, and so on. Participatory action research is an important method that is included across all of this week's articles, and it serves as a tool to empower the most marginalized communities to use their voice to inspire social change. Thank you.